All right, everybody. Oh my God, David is gone. Where's the Skype window?
What?
There you
Right
are.
here.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Tuesday show. I'm James Chen.
I'm Ultra David. Are we doing this again?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
how's everybody going?
I guess we don't need to do this again. You're right. Okay. Well, I forgot to put it up there before the break, but I have it up there now, which is the Street Fighter 5 patch came out today. So it was announced on April 1st, which is, of course, the worst day to announce anything.
Yeah.
But, you know, Sajam and Steve assured that it was not a joke, and sure enough, the patch notes came out that night at midnight, and 2 days later and earlier today, they updated the servers, and there we have it. We have a new version of Street Fighter 5, and
Yeah.
a lot of angry people. I mean, I haven't seen this much vitriol to a patch in some time, I would say.
Really? I feel like it happens every time.
Well, I mean, like, because now everybody is talking about how, like, it's patching too often and da-da-da. I mean, like, if it's anything like last year, this is probably the last patch for the year, right? I'm surprised that everyone's, like, mad that, oh, I spent all this time learning my character. Like, if you went by what happened last year, you kind of figured that maybe something like that would happen this year, right?
Well, it wasn't like 3 weeks into the season or whatever this one is.
Wasn't it? I thought it was pretty fast last time.
Was it like right after final round last year? Or NCR? I don't think it was that early. I feel like it was in like late spring.
Okay.
I don't know.
But yeah, the patch notes are out, and a lot of people are mad. But again, like a lot of people in the chat are saying, that's probably just par for the course at this point.
Well, I do think it happens every time. Right. Yeah, last year's patch was after Combo Breaker. Thank you.
Ooh, it was after Combo Breaker Day.
Like I really think it was pretty late.
Okay.
Yeah. Was it even before Evo? Okay. Yeah. Again, not the same period of time. In any case.
What's your take on it right now? I mean, how are you feeling about this patch at this point?
I just think it's haphazard. I think that's the biggest thing that comes away for me. I feel like there's very little that ties together SF5's balance choices. I just don't. I don't understand it. I am not sure there is a reason. I'm not sure that exists. I'm not sure that there's like an overarching, here's what we're doing this time and why. I've never thought that about Capcom games. I never thought that about like any fighting game until 5 or 6 years ago. Some games started to do it. And now there's like a whole stream that NRS has whenever they put a patch out. KI had very detailed explanations for why things happen. I just don't think that exists for Street Fighter.
Yeah,
so
I bet you that's more Japanese culture than anything.
Oh yeah, yeah, very very plausible. Wasn't like Johnny buffed or something wild in Guilty Gear recently?
Yeah. He's like even.
So,
Chip keeps getting stronger, and Johnny keeps getting stronger in the Rev patches, and people are confused.
Like nobody understands that,
right?
Right. So and it's not even like they're just making the popular characters good. That's not even what it's not like Ryu's the best. Right? It's not like Chun-Li's the best. I just don't think there's like a real cohesive understanding or game plan for SF5 patches. So that and this I think very much backs this up. Some characters get better or worse, and it just feels like it's haphazard. So I'm fine with some of the things. Fine with nerfing Rashid a little bit. I'm fine with nerfing Abigail a little bit. Well, I didn't think he should have been buffed anyway, if you recall.
Some people were saying that they feel like Rashid got Ibuki'd or Nashed.
Well, that's what I was just gonna say. Yeah, I feel like they. While I'm fine with him being nerfed, I wouldn't have nerfed as many things as they did about him. Everybody wanted EX Eagle Spike to not go through. They wanted it to bounce off, right? That was like a pretty common request for nerfing Rashid. And they did that, but then they did like 50 other things.
Right.
So I don't know. There's a lot of weird choices in there. They gave Zangief just hard to understand, useless stuff.
Hey, you can headbutt cancel into EX SPD now. Come on.
Not just that. You can also do neutral jump headbutt, then juggle with forward fierce or lariat.
Oh, okay.
But those never will come up. That's
right.
That's if somebody does a dragon punch in the corner and you block it with them in the corner, then you can do those things. It's like just not. And for them, why would you? You could just do a crush counter or whatever. Which I guess they did nerf how much damage crush counters do, but that's, I'm sure, still more than neutral jump headbutt as a punish. So, I don't understand that at all. They continued to change his Tundra Storm, the counter, which nobody cares about. So I just don't think that there's an overarching reason for any of this stuff. I feel, it really feels like somebody's assigned to Zangief, and they're like, all right, here's what we're going to do. And then everybody else is like, okay, well, fine. Here's what I did with Minat. The Cammy guy is everybody's favorite in the room, and he's like, here's what I'd like to do with Cammy. And everybody's like, yes, for sure.
Right.
Whatever you'd like, Cammy guy. So it doesn't seem like there's anything that binds it all together. So that's what I'm upset about.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that the patch is like not great in some ways in terms of what the balance will end up being. But I don't think it's going to be terrible. I still feel like it's going to be a reasonably balanced game. It's just, I just don't understand it. And that, I feel, is just bad. At this point, we're in 2018 now. Other companies have been explaining their patch notes for half a dozen years. Mm-hmm. You've got to get on board at this point.
Right. And like, I don't understand why they decided to nerf all the V reversals to 17 frames. I would have rather had them all sped up to 15, to be honest with you.
Speed them up, please.
And then the crush counter thing that they nerfed the damage, that really wasn't what people were frustrated about, right? It was their utility. I don't think anybody's going to miss the damage off of a Urian standing fierce in the mid-screen. It still makes footsies really awkward, you know what I mean? So I don't think nerfing the damage fixes the complaints from a lot of people about crush counters. And then obviously there's Cammy. Like, the only thing I can understand, and, you know, the reason why I sent out those tweets earlier today really was me just trying to bait people, right? I was just trying, because the thing is, I was like, maybe they buffed her because they were trying to cater to the casuals, because 6th highest character used, only under Ryuken and Akuma, who are always going to be the #1 characters, Sakura, who was brand new, and Guile, who's super popular, so she's number 6, but she also had the 4th lowest win percentage, right?
Yeah.
So I knew if I presented that right away, everyone would be like, that's stupid. You shouldn't balance this character towards, you know, casuals. It should only be for pros. So I asked that question first. And I got a 50-50 response. People were like, casuals, and then everyone's like, you should kind of consider both. So then I represented the poll with that information, and suddenly it changed to 2-1 that you should only balance it for the pros. So, you know, I was just really kind of testing how people were going to respond to that, you know, because honestly, I feel like that is maybe why Capcom did it, you know, buffed Cammy, is because she has the 4th lowest win percentage on CFN, you know, only to Sakura Blanca, who nobody knows, and Minat, who nobody can play. But the thing about it is, it's a terrible idea. You cannot balance characters based off of their CFN win percentages. Like, you just can't, because the more that people play them, the less well that they're going to do. That's just general logic right there.
So, and then, more of the players are going to be not great.
Right. And then secondly, like, the net code is just, it ruins the statistics, right? Like, the net code is not good enough that you can go by those percentages. And so if that's what they're doing, I think that's a mistake. You know, Cammy honestly did not need that V-Trigger 1 buff. I mean, I think it's silly. I almost think it's silly now, because one of the weaknesses that she had was that standing medium kick and crouching medium kick, when canceling the V-trigger, only got her uppercut. That was it. So if you wanted to fish with those buttons in the V-trigger, you didn't get anything off of it. If you wanted to combo into the critical art, you had to do crouching strong or standing fierce into V-trigger. But now I can do standing medium kick, V-trigger, uppercut, dive kick, super, and I don't know.
Does that work from the ground like that?
What's that?
Does that work from the ground if the opponent's grounded?
That's a good question. I would assume that it would, because it looked like
I only saw it as an anti-air, but I don't know that it needs to be an anti-air.
Yeah, I saw it off of the lift upper target combo, which also pops them up into the air now that you mentioned it.
I really don't know either way. I'm just asking.
Okay, I'll test it out. Someone says it does not work, huh? So it does not work, according to Celia, but according to Homuffin, that Info was doing it. So there are situations where it can link into EXDP or Super. Yeah, the dive kick has to hit twice, and there seemed to be a pretty decent variance on the timing of when you can do the dive kick. So I'm wondering if there's a way to control it. I haven't had a chance to mess with the patch. I was driving home from my parents' house earlier today, and I got stuck in traffic, so I haven't had a chance to mess with it. But But it sounds like, okay, so if it only works off of the lift upper combo or roundhouse counter combos, maybe, but still.
Well, it also works as an anti-air. That's what I first saw it
right.
as. Like anti-air DP into dash kick.
Right, which is kind of a waste because you could just uppercut into super right away, right, and save the second half for probably almost the same amount of damage, to be honest with you. If it doesn't work off of crouching medium kick and standing medium kick against a grounded opponent, maybe it's not so terrible outside of just giving her better positioning after the uppercut, but I don't think Cammys would use that anyway because the dive kick juggle, if it hits all hits, barely does any damage. It puts you in a good position, but I feel like you would sacrifice that just to have the V-trigger dive kick still intact. So,
but in any case, nobody asked for it.
Right.
Nobody needed it. Whether it's, as a buff, even if it's any kind of buff, nobody thinks that she needs to be buffed, right? Like,
right.
I've read some people think that she's not top 5. They may think that she's high tier, but nobody thinks she's worse than that.
Right.
And I think she's one of the best.
I've been saying all season long that I think she's top 3 or so. Right. But I honestly didn't think she needed the buff at all. Like, obviously I am a Cammy player. And you know what? Honestly, like, I must be, like, in my, like, sleepwalking into the Capcom headquarters and bribing hella people because Cammy and Minot didn't get touched, and those are both my characters. Like,
they got buffed.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, seriously, this patch was like the James Chen patch. Like, I don't understand it, But yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm okay with some of the stuff they did. Like, I feel that the Abigail changes are fine. They made it so that crouching short, stand short doesn't link anymore. It's fine. That was weird, honestly. It didn't need to be like, it wasn't like that before. And I already thought he was strong in season 2. I'm not a big fan of crouching short not being cancelable into special moves. It's only cancelable into trigger.
Right.
But it's not that big of a deal because crouching short, stand jab still does go into Abigail punch.
Just has less range. Just has less range now.
A little less range, yeah. At the same time, they made V-Trigger 2 deal more damage. They made it so that Abigail punch, without mashing it, mid-screen, he now gets free dash up into true pressure. He beats 3 framers, which he could not do before.
Right.
So on the one hand, he's a little bit worse. He has less stun output. Mix-ups are a little bit weaker, but he gets to continue pressure better more often. So I think it's fine.
Right.
That said, although I think it's fine, I don't think it's what people were complaining about when it comes to Abigail. What people were complaining about was wild damage, and that still exists.
Well, the stun at least is down a little bit.
The stun is down. It's true.
That'll
but he
help
still,
a little bit.
Still has 2/3 life combos. That's still there. So I think it's weird because
I'm glad though because I was so scared they were going to I was so scared they were going to just completely delete Abigail from the game, and I'm really happy that they didn't.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And it's true. I think Zeku has some cool new stuff. There are some good things in here. But then there's stuff that just doesn't make any sense. Zangief gets useless stuff. Fang got a nerf or whatever.
A lot of people are talking about Ed. I'm still torn on Ed because some people were saying that his V skill might be buffed and might actually be really much more useful in footsies. But and I know some people were saying that they thought Ryu was buffed, but the meter changed it from 9 max fireballs to 8 max fireballs. Right. Realistically, 7 max fireballs.
Right.
So and now the uppercut drains it too. So I'm not sure what they were trying to do, but we'll see what kind of crazy combos people come up with now with the extra juggle potential on the step, the danky kick and such. So
right. They did make Sakura better, but then they made Laura worse, and they had already done that in season 3. Like Laura now she's in counter hit state when she dashes, and she has less frame advantage after grab. Like I don't get it.
She can't do the fireball dash under thing anymore off the air reset anymore. They increased her collision box for some strange reason, and I thought it was a really cheap tactic, but I was cool with it because they turned it into a 3-bar V trigger.
Right, exactly. It was already nerfed.
Right. Bison, when he had the 3-bar in season 1 and 2, like, you were okay with it being as cheap as it was, because I mean, honestly, that V-trigger was super cheap, but it was just so hard to get and use, you know. So Laura felt the same way, so I had no problem with that. So I don't know why they took that away.
I'm with you. So again, I'm okay with some of the changes, but others are very confusing, and I just don't think that there's an overall game strategy. I just really feel like it's haphazard, and I'm tired of that. So that's my complaint. Even if it ended up being that the game was more balanced, I'd be happy with that. I doubt it, but I'd be happy with that. But I'd still be upset that I'd feel like anything can happen for any reason, and that there's no rhyme or reason to it. And that sucks. It sucks for everybody. It sucks for every level of player. It sucks for pro players, of course, because they may have sunk in a lot of time into a character who just ends up dead the next week for no reason.
I think I saw Choco Blanca talk about Colleen, like, getting killed, and now Momochi, you know, might be kind of screwed. Right? Yeah,
he might learn Zeku now or whatever. So that sucks for pro players. It also sucks for everybody else, because nobody, like, if you're the kind of player who you're not super competitive, but you follow it a little bit. You just know that your character got worse, and that might not be like super impactful to whether you win or not, because maybe you're not winning much anyway. But it just doesn't feel good to know that your character got worse. Nobody likes that, and to not have a good explanation for it is just not good enough anymore. It just really is not good enough anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I saw you talk about us on Twitter, how you were saying that you feel like, kind of like, you know, with basketball or NHL or anything, they've got like the players committee that can kind of interact with the...
Yeah, I want some recourse or some skin in the game, because the players already have a lot of skin in the game, and they don't have any say in anything. They're like weirdly powerless, I feel. And I don't know, it might just be an issue ultimately that underlies esports, that it's, you know, ultimately we're tied to product cycles, and this is all just a capitalist exercise, and it's not like just basketball. The game exists somewhere and anybody can play it. That's not how it is. It's a product that is somebody wants to sell, and they want to maintain their rights in it.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I don't know how you give the players some rights, but I really feel like they need something, and that might not be that they can force their changes through, but maybe more that a set of players who are, you know, considered trustworthy. Maybe not everybody, but some players are out there who can be a little bit more dispassionate about buffs and nerfs to different characters.
I mean, honestly, like, maybe they might even want to talk to some, like, I mean, obviously I'm already on that patch staff, but, you know, talk to commentators, because we don't play as much anymore, so it doesn't necessarily benefit us. Of course, I'm joking about that, obviously, because of the Cammy buffs, but, you know, but, you know, because that's the hardest part, is that it's really hard to find pro players who can be unbiased about the buffs, you know, and the changes and stuff like that. And all of that, I think, is what makes it really, really tough. And again, I feel like also a lot of it is that, you know, Capcom Japan probably just has a completely different idea. Maybe they are going off of CFN statistics.
Yeah.
They probably have all sorts of data about this move landing this many times, how many times this V-trigger's been used, et cetera, and they're probably basing it off that instead of basing it off of any sort of realistic tournament data. You know, the poll that I put up, should we consider casuals or should it balance mostly towards the pros? I mean, I actually kind of lean more towards the pros, because I agree with a lot of people that I don't think the casuals are really going to, you know, understand a lot of the changes. However, I also agree with a lot of people who say that, you know, we should also focus on trying to make the game fun. You know what I mean?
Of course. Just like, it has to be both. And I don't mean to imply that I think that it's easy to balance or design a game. I know it's very difficult.
So
I haven't done it, but I've talked with many people who have. They say it's all hard.
Right.
But that's a separate issue. What I need, what I really feel like players need, is to have some say. And again, whether that's just to veto stupid changes or to be at least like accounted to. Here's why we're making the changes. Right. Something in there. It can't just be that you wake up and you find that the character you've been using is gone. That just doesn't. It's just not reasonable. It's really not. And I don't like that players have to depend on the developer to be nice about it.
Right.
I feel like it's risky because you're going to get some who are really nice and cool about it, and you're going to get some who make terrible choices. And
I mean,
I just don't think that it's good enough for the players to not have any recourse.
There was already stories of it, how in NBC 3, one of the main combat designers was one of the biggest Devil May Cry fans, which is why Dante and Virgil ended up so powerful. Apparently, one of the main battle designers in Guilty Gear was a former Faust player, and that's why like Faust has been good in like every game and stuff. So it's really hard to avoid that accidental bias in a lot of ways.
My take on that is not necessarily that they're trying to make Faust or whatever the best character. It's more that they understand what it takes for the character to be reasonable, and other people may not be there to fight for whatever.
Exactly.
There's not like the Potemkin guy in there who's like, look, why has Potemkin been bad this whole time? Like, can we get something? That guy isn't in there. There's the Faust guy. Right. So if he asks for something for Faust, if there were more people who were in that process who cared about the characters, or who have an understanding of playing a game at a high level, and I really feel like there would be less just haphazard balance patching.
Right.
So, again, though, everybody likes Ryu and Ken, and they're not great in SF5, even still. So, like, I feel like there probably is the Ryu guy who's like, hey, let's have Ryu be good. But we can't have Ken be bad. But they're just not good enough at fighting for whatever it is.
Right. And in fact, a lot of
they don't know it.
Like the buffs.
I don't know. That's all I can think of.
Right. So, like, some of the buffs to Ken were like, hey, look, he's got these cool new combos. And it's like, that's not where his problem lies. So the guys who are in charge of, there's like perhaps no Mike Z or no Keats, with the kind of overall knowledge of the game and understanding how everyone interacts with each other and how the changes affect characters and stuff. It really seems like everyone's doing it in their own box, and they're just like, this would be neat to do. And in fact, a lot of times when I sit here and I see a lot of the changes, I sometimes almost predict to myself that these were all features that were in beta versions that they took out and then they just kind of put back in. You know what I mean? Like, it just sometimes some of these changes feel like, now I can cancel, Necalli can cancel special move into V-Trigger. I bet you that was in a build before Season 1 came out, and they just took it away, and now they're just like, let's put it back because this is already something that we can do. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I bet you uppercut was cancelable into dive kick for Cammy a long time ago.
Yeah.
Because all of her moves were supposed to link into each other, it felt like, in the first place, right? And so maybe that was there in the first place, but they're like, this is too good. But then they're like, the guy who was buffing or changing Cammy was probably like, let's make her interesting by giving her this new combo route. And maybe they didn't realize it could combo into super or what, but I don't know. It's weird. It's weird, and I wish that they had a more cohesive battle planner across the whole thing. I don't know. Maybe that is Woshige, but I'm not sure.
It is, and obviously he's a really good player. It's just that I wouldn't be surprised at all if Woshige himself would like to have more consistency. That I don't know that to be the case at all. But it just seems to me like it's too haphazard for somebody who knows how to play fighting games so well to end up with. But, what did they do to Zangief? I mean, again, that's not even that. They didn't nerf him badly. It's just they didn't do anything to him.
Right.
He's just the same weak character.
He had changes for the sake of having changes, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my issue with it. I don't know that it'll be much less balanced. I think it may be a little bit so, but I just don't like it. Maybe more out of principle than anything else.
Yeah, I agree.
All right.
I'm happy for some people. In a weird way, I'm happy for guys like LPN and Cool Kid because hopefully Abigail, now when they win with them, people won't be mad at them. You know what I mean?
For sure people will hate it.
I don't like what people are doing to like Problem X and all these other guys,
crazy.
for using these characters and getting mad at them or whatever like that. But, hopefully that makes it so that their skill winning with Abigail now will be appreciated and stuff like that. So, yeah, obviously there are a lot of stuff that I do like, but, honestly, the thing that stands out to me the most is the Cammy buff. Like Manat, everyone's saying now we're going to see a million Manats. Probably not, because she's not as straightforward to use. But Cammy, God, we are going to see Cammies all over the place now, in my opinion. So, yeah.
You should. Yeah, to mention Fang, somebody just asked me to talk about Fang, KFC. Same thing as Zangief, but a little bit worse, because they did nerf him. I haven't tested him yet, but I don't think that 2 frames more recovery on his forward throw will blow up his corner pressure. But why do it?
Right.
What does that get? What does that get you? For what reason? And his V reversal, they increased the overall movement frames from 30 to 31.
Right.
And they added a hurt box from 26 to 31. Why did you make his V reversal worse?
Right.
It's not even much. It's not like it just makes very little sense. I just feel like there's very little reason for it.
So Ed's V reversal also jumped up to 31 frames, if I'm not mistaken. They must have just tried to do like some sort of universalizing things. And honestly, that is one of the things that I like least about Street Fighter V, is that I feel like they try to universalize things too much. I wouldn't mind having some characters with safe sweeps. You know what I mean? Just kind of situations like that.
For sure, no, there should be variety.
Right.
But you're right, it does seem like they want uniformity among V reversals. Everybody's is now 17 frame startup, I guess, all the hitting ones.
Right.
And yeah, I see the same thing for Ed that you pointed out. Increase overall movement frames to 31 frames.
Right. So
I don't know. Doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I bet you all the other movement characters are also, V reversal characters are all 31 frames or something like that. So, yeah. But yeah.
Super weird.
The overall reduction of recovery frames for throws for a lot of characters. I know that they upped the damage for a lot of them, but I didn't see that.
Yeah, it seemed like they're trying to. So if characters have like throws that result in pressure, that they do less damage, and if they don't, then they do more. That seems like kind of what is going on.
Okay. Yeah, obviously some people are happy. I saw someone in the chat talk about Smug being happy. Balrog definitely got a second wind in this patch now, because his crush counter is a little more like he can actually get the old combo again. But it's definitely benefiting some people. There's definitely characters that are benefiting, but the weird part about it is the characters that are benefiting are not the ones that were bottom tier necessarily. So.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
About Guile, the flash kick. You see how far EX flash kick throws the opponent?
Oh, no, I didn't.
It results in basically full screen.
Jeez, okay.
So that's good for Guile against characters who he wants to zone, but also bad for him because there are some matchups where he wants to get a knockdown and then pressure.
Right.
Or there are situations where he needs to make a comeback and he wants to get a knockdown and then pressure. So, yeah, it's a buff for him in some ways, but it also makes his comebacks harder. And, if he wants to pressure a character, it's kind of harder to set it up now.
Right,
so,
yeah.
A little bit, but not a lot, but a little bit.
Yeah, Season 3 Abigail, I did see Chris G's combo with it, where he EX flash kicks someone into the EX Sonic Boom across the screen.
Oh my
and
God.
And it juggled.
Okay.
But,
Not flash kick super anymore?
Really?
That's so.
Huh.
Wow, Gilly. Duly noted. That sucks.
That's weird. That wasn't even mentioned in the thing, right? So
that sucks.
Maybe only in V Trigger 2, because they took away Flash Kick into they took away Sonic Boom into V Trigger 2. That's right. They took that away. And Guile got nerfed a little bit because Sonic Boom doesn't push you back as far. I think that's a good change, but overall, I just really didn't feel like Ryu and Alex and some of the other low tier characters kind of got the buffs that they needed. Although some people are finding some interesting things with Alex now, so. And I can't wait to see what people find with Ryu's new Danky Kick combos. So,
I guess I'm not super stoked about the patch. Mm-hmm. Again, not necessarily because I think it's going to result in the game being imbalanced or boring, but I just am tired of haphazard patches.
Yeah, doesn't seem like there's any particular theme. And again, this seems to be the commonality between a lot of the Japanese games, right? With Guilty Gear and Street Fighter. like it feels like they make changes just for the sake of making changes, whereas games like, you know, Injustice 2 and Killer Instinct really had some, you know, well-intentioned, and, you know, you can see their thought process behind the changes. So
yeah, and in those cases, you're not always on board with the changes anyway. Like, I think that NRS probably nerfed Deadshot a little bit too much, but they talked in detail about why they did what they did.
Right.
They thought that he killed too many characters, that his design was just too strong for many characters to deal with. Maybe that's true. I don't really know, but that was their thought about it anyway, and I really appreciate having some explanation for what's going on. It can't just be nothing.
Yeah, and honestly, like, I've been doing the little tutorial video series with Choy Sauce on Uniel. Man, people really need to get French bread to like design. God, that game is still so well designed, honestly. Like, if people want to talk about supporting really good games that are really well designed, Unist is a game that people need to look at right now. Because that game is so good.
I hear you.
Dude, I don't know why my video is so choppy. I apologize to everybody. I probably needed to reboot the machine or something like that. I don't know. This machine has been giving me problems for years and years now. So even though, well, not even years and years. So for maybe like 3 years or something like that. So it's not even that outdated. So I don't know.
Anything else to say about the SF5 patch?
Nah, I think I'm done with the SF5 patch. So.